Hello once again. We're here for the annual Beyond the Vibe Award show, 2025. So this year is the fifth anniversary of the whole show. I don't think in the first year we did an award show, but I think we did it in the second year. But regardless, we did do. We've been here 5 years, so we've somehow made it. And for that 5 years, we decided to at least slightly dress up a little bit. So I've put on some fancy clothes. Lee's got his customary shirt out that comes out but once a year.
It comes out more than once a year. Just you say it once a year.
Well, there you go. We get to like view it once a year. But yes, obviously, for those that don't know what we're about, thinking, what kind of show is this? Obviously, we're doing an award show, but we're not doing an award show like any other award show. No. It's the only award show where we decide right here, right now, who the winners of each respective category are going to be. So that could be best album, best live act, whatever it is. We find that, we had a look when we were starting all of this, that, a lot of shows, it's kind of, obviously the winner's already been decided somewhere, and the audience always says, don't they? They always go, oh, it's rigged. That person was always going to win. So we thought that this way you can see how we reach the conclusions that we do to give that winning star to that person. Even if you don't necessarily agree with it, you can at least see how we got there. So, jumping into things, it's usually a long haul, so brace yourself. We're going to start off with the bands kind of at the bottom of the pyramid, because we want to shine a light on those bands that are about to kind of go and do something amazing, or at least what we think is going to go and be amazing. So we do the ones to watch. So the nominees for the ones to watch are Jayla, Gary Kane, and Fireheart.
Can you feel the love now? Can you feel it somehow?
Now, Fireheart's, of course, your choice, Lee.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about Fireheart.
Actually, a lot of people will know that Fireheart was formed alongside obviously Kev Baker, formerly of the Hot 1-2. We're not going to dwell on the split of the Hot 1-2. There's no point. But he's come back with this brand new band. There's a lot of decent people. You got likes of Brett Barnes in it, Ross Grimmett vocals, and before the whole, they've only just released their Rise EP. And before even the EP came out, within like 2 weeks of launching the new project, before any, I think at that point they'd only announced Kev and Lee, the guitarist, who did come on board, but has since left for personal reasons. Two out of 5 members were the only things announced. A name was announced, and yet it was like they were all. I know from talking to Kev, that they were already getting offers for some quite big festivals. There was already a lot of hype around it, and I think now that the EP's out, now they've got something tangible to put upon it. The merch was selling out before it was printed. They've just announced a tour with Cassidy Paris when she comes over next year. They're in the lineup for the Stone Dead opening poll. There's some other festivals that have already been confirmed for next year. There's a lot going on for a band that have only just released their first EP. And knowing the guys in the band, Kev especially, I've got a hunch that this is they're gonna be one to watch. They're gonna keep pushing forward. The energy is
Mm.
infectious. I think they got, a lot of their social media side of things bang on in terms of building that community, which isn't always easy to do. But I
Mm.
think a lot of people wanted to see Kev thrive, and wanted to see what was next from him. Having enjoyed his work in the Hot 1-2, and for the record, I'm not blasting the Hot 1-2 on this because whatever happened happened. That's band stuff. It's not me as a listener's business. Frankly, whatever happened happened. I'm not here to slate anyone. Um, but I think you know people were wanting Kev to come back because they enjoyed his performances with the Hot 1-2. They enjoy that side of him. And to come back with what they've come back with, some really strong songs already. I just think that next year is going to be a bit of a one for them to watch in terms of. I think they'll get some more decent opening slots for people. They've already done their tour, their first tour run of dates. Had Kit Trigg supporting, another great act, and it just seemed to go really well. There's a lot of sold out shows on it. They've seemed to build up that community quite well in a sort of relatively short period of time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, One of the other candidates I wanted to throw in Gary Kane. Gary, I spoke with last year when he was living in Texas. He's now since moved to the UK.
Okay.
It's weird. Yeah, small world. I've met him a couple of times now. Um, and for those that kind of don't know what he's about, he's in that vein of a Philip Sace or a Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Right.
and he's just got bags of talent. And you don't really realize it until you go and see him live. Like you kind of get an idea from videos,
Mm.
but there's not a lot out there that's been, I would say, professionally filmed at this stage. Um, but the first time I saw him live, he came out and I was just like, wow, like this guy has something very special. When you just kind of,
Yeah.
I was kind of doing my little almost Simon Cowell look to dad because I was just like, yeah, this guy is,
He's
he's
got it.
got something. Yeah. And, saw him again recently and he's improved exponentially since the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay.
There is something going on with him, like bubbling underneath the surface that, he's playing in bars at the minute, but he is nowhere near bar level. Like he is far above this. It's one of those where it's only a matter of time before he goes and does something quite incredible.
Mm.
There's something about him, and he's got this very humble quality, which I like. Um, there's something elite. I would say to a lot of people out there that aren't familiar, go and see him if you have an opportunity, because largely he's going to be playing free shows at the
Okay.
minute, the level he's at. So it's free. Um, it's insane. Like
He's not the
is
guy that you put the video up at the Flying Circus in Newark, was it?
yes, it
That him?
is.
That's that guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He's got something about him. And he just has this talent. Um, he got close a few years back. He opened when he was living in Canada because he's Canadian. He opened for George Thorogood.
Okay.
Um, and he's just there's this potential there, and he's getting very near. And I feel if he has a bit of marketing, he's going to go quite far. If he was able to get on a tour with like a Philip Sace,
Mm.
somebody like that, he would do incredibly well. Or even a Troy Redfern for that matter. Somebody in that kind of wheelhouse, I think he would do really well.
Mm.
But I feel he has to be in the ones to watch because I spoke with him and he said, "Oh, I'm thinking about a record." So maybe something's going to happen soon. Just when you get a vibe from
Yeah, you get
somebody,
a
you
hunch
think,
about some things sometimes, don't you?
yeah, you just get a feeling. You think, yeah, there's something about this guy. Like you speak with him and you just think, yeah, he's got something. So yes, I want to throw him out there. The last lot have been causing quite a lot of stir
Mm.
for one reason or another. Whether you like them, whether you hate them, they seem to be one of those kind of bands. But of course, it is Jailer, and Jailer, obviously there's an undeniable comparison to like Led Zeppelin or maybe even Greta Van Fleet. Uh, um, but my God, are they moving quickly?
Yeah.
It's one thing I will give them credit for. They haven't hung around. Next year, they're already slated to play with Sammy Hagar, and then later in that year, Deep Purple.
It's just insane, isn't it?
Bear in mind, for those that aren't completely familiar with Jailer, they're children. You know, they are they what, late teens, early 20s
Yeah,
max.
early 20s max.
Yeah, and there's, you know, I feel maybe that there's some kind of more musical maturing going on there. But there has to be something, or they wouldn't be playing these shows.
Well, this is it. And like you say, there may well be some sort of musical maturity to happen,
Hmm.
but you could say that just throwing a band out there, not saying they're copying them at all. But Zeppelin, look at the first Zeppelin album. That was basically a blues covers album. They were
Oh yeah.
basically imitating their influences.
Hmm.
Um, and I'd argue that the same. You mentioned Greta Van Fleet earlier. I'd argue that the Greta Van Fleet first album was very sort of imitation, fake it till you make it kind of thing. It was great, great record, not slagging it. But I think anyone who's followed Greta Van Fleet's journey through albums 2 and then 3, and then even onto what's going on with Mirador as well, there's a growth there, and that happens. I mean, Greta Van Fleet were quite young when they first came out, and Jailer are pretty young, and no
Mm.
doubt they'll come on and they'll find things along their sort of musical journey, if you like. That'll happen.
Mm.
But you cannot deny the impact that they've got at the moment.
It's very fast,
Yeah, like
even
really.
from like the start of this year. You know, it's the growth is insane. Like, if you just look at their Facebook page, for example, start of the year, few thousand. Right now, last time I checked, anyway, it was like 33.
I know it's hell of growth in a year, isn't it?
That's exponential growth in a year. And you know, obviously, there's a lot of comparisons to like your Zeppelins and whatnot. But I would look at them more like the Greta Van Fleet.
Hmm.
Why? Because I feel they're kind of following a similar model. Like they're young guys. Obviously, Greta Van Fleet were young guys.
Yeah.
They're being compared a lot to Led Zeppelin. Greta Van Fleet got compared a lot to Led Zeppelin. But then Greta Van Fleet hit that certain point where they kind of grew and they evolved. And I feel that maybe we're going to close in on that at some point. I think there's an evolution that's going to happen with them. But if you look at them as individuals, they're all very talented musicians. It's
Yeah,
undeniable.
absolutely.
So yes, we've reached that point now where we have to somehow decide who is the ones to watch for 2026 and beyond. Who are we feeling to? Who are we gravitating towards, Lee? It's
I
difficult
think
already.
it's difficult. As it always is. We never make it easy on ourselves.
Oh no.
I feel like to a certain extent, Jailer, although making their mark now and have had a brilliant year, I feel like
Yes.
they've at least partially proved their point.
Hmm.
In terms of, yes, you can say we're copying this. Yes, you can, like, any band's got their lovers and haters. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But they've stuck with their guns, stuck to what they're having fun with, what they enjoy doing, everything else, and now it's paying off. Like you say, supporting Sammy Hagar, Deep Purple, signing on with Adam Parsons' management, who's a great manager. And going on these great tours, and no doubt more great music to come. So I feel like they're ones to watch in a way of like the next level up. Whereas with like Fireheart, as well as Gary Kane.
Yes.
Thank you. You can tell I've been at work all day. They're still proving their worth. I don't think they've made the same impact as yet. So in terms of with being strict on ones to watch, maybe we do for one of them too.
We could do. I
As
think that Jailer don't perhaps need Beyond the Vibes help. I think they're doing quite well on their own. you know, you could maybe have argued as a breakthrough artist,
Yeah, maybe.
because they've moved that quickly in such a short space of time. I think they've moved a notch above those that were in their category, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
their trajectory is already kind of set based on what they've
yes,
already got lined up.
yes,
You
I
put
agree.
them in front of like Sammy Hagar fans and Deep Purple fans, they're going to pick
It's,
people up. It's
it's
as
a
simple
pretty
as that.
easy shot, I would agree.
You know, similar to what you were saying earlier about Gary Kane. If he was to go out with Philip Sace, for example, he would have
Yes,
opportunity as well. You know,
yeah, yeah. So we're looking either Fireheart or Gary. What are we feeling?
the problem is I've not really delved into Gary Kane that much. Being
No, this is it.
honest,
And the thing that I will say with Gary is there's this, he's like a throwback guitar hero. It's very similar to what I said about Philip Sace a few years ago, where it feels like an old school guitarist, and he just absolutely melts your face off. He's one of those, like he'll come out and he'll play something and it's like wow. I remember recently when he came and played the local flying circus. Um, he did like this crazy solo section, and there was just silence in the crowd. Like people, there was that kind of like, whoa,
yeah,
you know,
well,
like this. We haven't seen this here before. You know, it's that kind of vibe, and you know, you can. There's a you can tell with smaller audiences. I think you know, see what's going on,
yeah, that's true.
and there was more like a oh wow, particularly this time around. What are you feeling? Are you really down on Fireheart?
I love where they're coming from. I do.
Hmm.
But based on what we were saying, it's similar that you didn't think that Jayla needed Beyond the Vibe. And if we're
Hmm.
going on a who needs this one more in terms of if this is going to be an opportunity for people to check out someone who might not have that behind them,
Possibly.
you know, like I said, Fireheart, I've got their fan base. They gained it quickly from not just Kev's, but everyone else's
Hmm.
previous acts
I
as
mean,
well.
again, you could argue they are on uh, a solid upward trajectory.
Yeah,
That
you
they're
know, they've
doing
got some
quite
good
well.
shows lined up and everything else.
Hmm.
So maybe we go for Gary Kane on that front then.
Maybe we do. I mean, I feel that he's got. I felt if you could see him live, you would be like. you- I felt if you, yeah, if you'd have already have seen him live, I feel you'd have come into this category and just said Gary Kane straight away.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where you have to see him.
We had this
You
the
know,
other year, to be fair, with Philip Sace.
yes, this is very
Because
true.
I
Yeah.
hadn't seen him at that point.
Mm.
I think I saw him about 2 weeks later and then messaged you as I was coming out.
Yeah, and it's one of those scenarios. If he comes your way, and I speak generally to anybody in the crowd and anybody at home, go and see him because it'll be most likely a free show. And honest to God, it's worth seeing. In small venues at this point, I don't believe he'll be playing small venues for very long. I think he's one of those where somebody's going to see him and they're going to go, "My God, sign him up." Like, where's this guy come from? You know, in half a year he's already assembled a band and he's already gone out playing.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Like he did not hang around. He'd been in this country 4 months and he'd already played about 5 or 6 gigs. Like he doesn't hang around. He's very impressive. So yeah, have we found our first
Yeah, I
winner?
think we have.
Yeah.
We have.
Okay, so 2026 ones to watch. It does go to Gary Kane. He got close in previous years, I believe. I think he was nearly in my nominees for this category last year. So he's
Okay.
again, he's climbing the charts.
Sure.
Moving on, we're doing the best live act. So this one's going to be quite interesting. Our nominees are Glenn Hughes, Ozzy, The Offspring, and Blue Nation. off the gate, we've got some absolute heavy hitters. I saw Glenn Hughes a few months back. He was doing one of those. It's like a look back through your career kind of show, and obviously it showcases the variety in his career. Um, what a varied career he's had.
Oh, good.
You know, playing everything from trapeze right the way through to, you know, like a little bit of Deep Purple at the end. He threw in a bit of that, but I could see he was reluctant to play a lot of it. But it was an impressive. I mean, again, it's just, you know, still hasn't lost his voice. Very impressive show. Came out with an acoustic guitar at one point. That was very exciting.
Oh, nice. I think
Yeah,
I've
just
seen him a few times, and I don't think I've ever seen him play an acoustic bit.
yeah. So he did an acoustic section. I cannot remember what song it was, but um, very impressive show. And it was just, you know, it's one of those where it's like this is a veteran doing his thing, and
Yeah.
it was, you know, impressive to see. And I think that there was that kind of feeling in the crowd, and particularly obviously when he inevitably played Burn.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
always
just
a moment,
class.
isn't it?
Yeah, that was the moment you could feel it right at the end. Everybody was waiting for it. They were like, "You better fucking play Burn," you know. Um, but yeah, very impressive. Another veteran who has sadly since passed away, Ozzy. Of
Yeah.
course, I wanted to include him because it was his last ever show.
Yeah, it
Um,
was really impressive. I mean,
yeah,
I think everyone when they announced that, and this is not to slate anyone involved, but when the
mm,
announcement got made that they were going to do this big spectacular, I almost felt like that was almost, and I've seen interviews since to say, yeah, that everybody was kind of on the sidelines in case Ozzy couldn't
yeah,
perform.
yeah,
And that's natural given, you know, his health. Obviously, he passed away 2 weeks after this show because so obviously he wasn't a well man, and his health was, you know, over the last few years been well documented. In, you know, the last couple of documentaries that have come out as well, of course. But
mm,
I just thought, okay, is he going to actually get up, or is this going to
yeah,
be like people are going to pay the tribute in a kind of Freddie Mercury show kind of way or a Taylor Hawkins show kind of way, but he's
mm.
actually still alive and he's going to come on and, you know, throw the horns up
Do a bit of a wave. Yeah,
or what have you. But no, he came out. Yes, he was, you know, strapped to this gothic throne, and yeah, you could see he was frustrated. I mean, there
yeah,
was times. I mean, he's a 75-year-old man with really bad Parkinson's
yeah,
and a screwed up back and everything else, and he was trying to stand up with the throne on his back a
yeah.
couple of times, you know. And I think that just showed how much Oz loved doing this and how
Mm.
passionate he was about doing that final show. And you know what? His voice was actually all right. Like impressive
Honest,
though.
I was incredible. Like I was bowled over that a man in his condition could sing like that. I
Yeah.
mean, he was. I would make an argument that he actually sounded better than Axl Rose did on the day. You
I'd
know?
agree. I'd agree with that
Yeah,
statement.
you know, it was who'd have known, you know, and the for me, particularly in Ozzy's solo set, um, playing Mama I'm Coming Home.
Oh,
It's one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen.
it's
Because
always a
obviously it
moment in a
had,
set, but like there, it
yeah.
seemed to take another level.
Oh my God. Because well, it just had this whole new meaning behind it, didn't it? You know,
Absolutely.
and it was bizarre because obviously it was like him performing at his own wake. So it's this incredibly bittersweet thing. But if I'm looking at the performance, to pull that out the bag, I mean, I didn't think he'd manage it, to be honest.
No, I didn't.
I didn't think he'd do it. Um, you know, obviously I wanted him to be able to, but I
Yeah, yeah.
just thought, well, the reality is going to catch up with him.
Yeah, given what he's
Uh,
been through the last few years with his
oh
health,
God,
you
I
know.
mean, it's been through so much; it's unbelievable. Um, yeah, I thought maybe it's one step too far. Maybe he might do two songs or something like that. But no, he did basically, you know, his full set that he was going to do
Mm.
from the beginning, and you know, incredibly impressive. And I'm happy that he managed to get that send off, particularly when you look back at the documentaries that have now
Yeah,
since come out, because he was just speaking, "Oh, I just want to play this show,"
yeah,
just over and over again for
yeah. I just want to do this
Lord
one.
knows how long. So I'm glad he was able to finally do what he's wanted to do for like the last few years. So that, albeit very heartbreaking, was incredible to see happen. Um, our other candidate, The Offspring, was a band that you
Yeah.
suggested.
Um, not quite as deep and meaningful as what we were just.
Yeah.
I went to go see the Offspring a couple of weeks back with some good friends of mine,
Mm,
and it was 2 hours of just unadulterated fun.
mm,
Like they were from the moment they kicked in with Come Out and Play all the way through to finishing up on Self-Esteem in the end of the encore was just two, and they were playing stuff off Supercharged, the new album or the newest album which came out last year, um, which is a great record, and they're playing stuff off that and everything in between. But I've never in a long time come away that buzzed from a show.
mm,
Maybe it was the friends that I was with Paul and Max, who, we go back to sort of being 11 years old. In the case of Max, I mean, me and Max bonded over Offspring. That's why we were kind of going. Um, he joined the school. I was the weird kid who liked rock music when everybody was listening to Backstreet Boys and whatever else. And then this other weird kid joined the school, and I saw him across the schoolyard. Well, actually, SLO. He was in my mates group, and I was a bit standoffy with Max because I've been through some bullying and stuff, and I was a bit wary of new people in the group.
mm.
And then it got to this first school disco that he attended, and he turned up in a Metallica t-shirt and jeans, and I thought, that's the guy for me.
Uh,
There's my new best friend. And we went it was when Original Prankster came out, and we went and asked the teacher to put that on. And I think we were the only white kids in the school who wanted it played. They kind of begrudgingly left it on, and we like threw ourselves around like absolute lunatics. And we did the same thing 25 years later at the gig at the OT the other night. But the energy in the room was amazing. I'd seen Offspring before. I've never seen them that good.
mm,
There was something about this way. I don't know what it is. There seems to be a newfound energy amongst them. I saw them at Download a few years ago. They were okay, but they didn't kind of blow me away. It was good fun. But at the A2, maybe it's effect of their own gig. Sometimes that feeds into it. Some people aren't a festival crowd necessarily, but I was buzzing for days. We were all messaging each other, going like, like for days on end. Going, oh, do you remember when they did this? Remember when they did that? And everyone was feeding out into it to a point of just sheer hysteria. Um,
mm,
and it wasn't just us. The whole vibe of the whole OT. It felt like I mean, if you can turn the OT to make and feel like a quite an intimate punk rock gig, you're doing something quite well and quite clever. And in terms of, I always kind of base this for my, you know, two pence worth into the thing, as it were, is what was the best gig of the year for me, and that was it.
mm.
That was it.
Yeah. Of course, we do also have one more, Blue Nation,
Yeah.
another one you threw in there. What is it about Blue Nation this year in particular that's made you go, you know what, I'm going to put them in best live act?
I've seen them a few times this year. Everywhere from Cambridge Corn Exchange, Cambridge Rock Festival that they did back in there. And again, there's kind of I always think a band on the rise does the opposite to the bands at the top, if you know what I mean. Like talking
Mhm.
about, Offspring making the O2 arena feeling like a sweaty punk rock gig.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Blue Nation making the tent at Cambridge Rock Festival feel like headlining set at Glastonbury, it's that kind of
Mm,
thing. And they make it seem so huge. And it always, obviously I know the boys quite well, and they, no matter what show I do, it's not me stood there going, "Oh, my mate's good." It's you can't deny it whether you know them or not.
yeah.
Um, and there's something about them. They've got a way of connecting with the audience, a way of connecting with the crowd, a way of them hearing their message heard in their songs that just separates it from just being a good rock show. There's depth to it. There's meaning. There's soul about it.
Mm,
They've just done an incredible run of dates with Don Martin, just finishing off last weekend. Um, last couple of dates they had to do as two pieces because poor Nick Sharma, their drummer, actually passed out on stage. Unfortunately, the gig in
wow.
Fleet, he had a bit of a medical thing. So he was sent home to recover. Pleased to say he's okay. Just for anybody watching, if they're concerned, he was okay. Um, and I chat to the guys. They're just some people are lifers in this game. Some people are the posers, and there's nothing wrong with the posers. I love Molly Crew as much as the next guy. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with a band that's a poser, right? But you got your posers and you got your lifers.
Mhm.
And I just feel that when you get a lifer, like you were talking about Glenn Hughes earlier, he's a
Mhm.
lifer. Some would argue he's also a poser, but I think he can be both.
He began as a poser and then became a life.
Well, there you go. Exactly. He matured.
Yeah.
But I just feel like Blue Nation are going to in this for the long haul. And you're going to
Mm.
go along with them or you're not. And you're not going to change who they are as people. They're not going to follow a trend. They're not going to try and fit into a certain box or a genre that's particularly popular. They're going to go out and do what they do, but they do it bloody well. And I would challenge anyone to go watch a Blue Nation show and
Mm.
come away feeling unlightened or not have a good time.
Mm.
So for those and a few really good shows that I've seen this year, it's got to be them.
Right. So, of course, again, we're at the point where we somehow have to make a decision. I mean, it's probably the most varied best live act section we've ever had.
Probably.
We've got everything in here. Are there any for you that are kind of sticking out as, these two maybe are edging it, these are pulling away from the pack?
I think we've got to throw Aussie into the mix just for the sheer
Mm.
that I mean, yeah, the Offspring was my live show of thing because I was there. But in
Mm.
terms of an event, like a
Yes.
live event, Aussie's got to win that out of that four in terms of a live event. So he has to be at least in the thing for the last two. Um, Purely on determination, overcoming everything that he overcame,
Mm.
and in genuinely good performance, like a
Yep.
genuine performance, not just wasn't that nice that they propped him up and he came out and did X. No, it was
Mm.
genuinely good.
It's impressive.
It
Yeah.
was genuinely impressive, and especially for where as well as it wasn't that, and the people like not only like the fans that came out to watch it. I think it was like I reckon it was like a couple of million people watching it online,
Yeah.
as well as everybody in Villa Park. But the bands that he had with him just to come and say, "We got your
Mhm.
back," us, Metallica, Slayer, Guns N' Roses, you mentioned, Tool, Mastodon, Rival Sons, they were all
Yeah.
out there and
Yeah.
more obviously. Um, so I do feel Oz has got to be in at least the final two to talk about.
Mm. It's a tough one. I mean, for me, Glenn Hughes, he generally comes around every year. I
Mhm.
think as much as I liked him, I think this year in particular was designed to be almost like a variety act of this is all of the interesting things that I've done in my career.
Mm.
So there was a real cross section of music, really. Maybe some would say not all of it went together,
Right.
that would perhaps be a criticism from some. I enjoyed it, but so I feel I want to either go. Obviously, Aussie's pulling away, but I'm looking at either Blue Nation or the Offspring for me that are going to come up against Oz.
Well, that's just mean. How can we choose between my two choices, mate?
For me, I'm looking at these two because I think right, Offspring are apparently a very fun band, and
Yeah.
they do what they do, and they have you have a great time when you go and see them. Blue Nation are a band that really I feel make you feel something,
Mm.
and it's like an experience. So it depends really what you want. It's very
Oh,
subjective. So I don't think we can really compare the two because obviously they're two completely different bands. But it depends what we're looking for. If we're looking at maybe the theme of this year, so like Ozzy's pulled away because he's pulled at our heartstrings and he's made us feel something, and he's done something incredible, I think. Are we going to kind of follow that vein, or are we going to go for a band that is a good feel time, good happy, we're gonna have fun time band. It depends where we're gonna go with it.
Mm. It's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough because Offspring were absolutely pure nostalgia.
Mm.
Great set, great mix of songs. I was with two of my oldest friends, having a
Mm.
great time. But based on other times I've seen Offspring, I would say Blue Nation are more consistent.
Interesting.
Um,
Very
that
interesting.
set was really, really good. Like I said, I've seen them before where I haven't quite enjoyed them as much as I did then for Offspring.
Mm.
Um, Blue Nation, I've never walked away thinking, "Oh
We've
boy, you had a
never.
rough night." Yeah,
Yeah,
I've never
yeah.
thought that watching them. So maybe based on that basis, I got to push Blue Nation forward.
Okay. So now we have two ends of the spectrum that are going head to head, both from Birmingham, ironically.
Battle of the Brummies, yeah, I was just going to say.
Two ends of the spectrum at Birmingham. We have a man that's finishing his career, and we have guys that are arguably on the kind of early steps of that career.
Yeah.
Um, which I think really sums up the music scene quite well. Having these kind of two levels from the same city. Um, or I mean, whoever wins out of these two, Birmingham wins. So, who are we going to go for, man? I mean, I love Blue Nation. I think they're great guys. But the one thing I will say is, I feel obviously this will be Ozzy's last opportunity in this
Yeah.
category. Whereas I feel, obviously, Blue Nation, I think they'll probably be back. That would be the thing for me.
The if we if we were basing it on a couple of years ago, when it
Yes.
wasn't at its finest, being honest, I
Yeah.
would have said Blue Nation all the way.
Mm.
But on this sheer impact that the Oz show had,
Mm.
both in terms of the money raised for the charities, the kind of talking point. I mean, I had people who I work with who have no interest in rock
Yeah.
music or heavy metal music, either catching bits of it or hearing bits of it on the radio, or even just come up to me and say, "Oh, I saw this clip on YouTube that so and so wasn't great. Oh, I didn't know that so and so was going to play." It was a big talking point, not
Mm.
just to us rock fans, but to the general public as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's tough.
it's tough.
For me, looking even just within Ozzy's set, I think it's just an incredible feat
Mm,
to be able to do what he did. I was at one point I was going, I'd probably have a sweepstakes on him not performing.
yeah,
I just thought it's not going to happen because obviously he'd cancelled other shows in
yeah, yeah.
previous years. So you just think, oh, I don't know, and like the only reference point we had, I think, was didn't he play like one song for like an Olympic thing? That
Oh,
was
it
it.
was the not the Olympics, it was the Commonwealth Games, wasn't it?
Yes, that was it. The Commonwealth game. He played like one song and he was kind of being like held up.
Mm. Yeah,
Like he
yeah,
was
it was
stood
like
with his,
like propped into that weird chair.
yeah. And I thought, ooh, like that doesn't look good. Like if he looked like he struggled to get through one song at that point.
Mm.
So I thought, is it going to happen?
And based what you see on the documentary, I'm guessing he did struggle to get through that one song at that point.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
amount of like working out and using the sort of external skeletons and stuff to get his legs going again and everything that he was doing was
Yeah.
insane. And you could see that just that the sheer determination just to
Mm,
go on that stage one more time and do it once more.
yeah.
Just do it once more. And I think that's why I think we were all glad when he did. And he did
Mm.
it well.
Just, I want to have like kind of like, as a career thing as well, because over his entire career, I mean, what an entertainer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like one of the most entertaining people ever. And I don't know anybody else that could run out in previous years that could run out, throw his arms up in the air, throw some water around, say he loves you all, and let's go crazy for about a good, I don't know what, 40 plus years.
Oh yeah.
the, the virtually the same act, really,
Yeah.
and be entertaining every single time,
Oh
you
god,
know.
yeah.
And for me, there was something special about it, and obviously this was that kind of last hurrah and culmination of that. So I feel personally, give him that one last hurrah because we're not going to be able to give him it again.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on it, mate. Like, sorry, Neil. Sorry, Luke. Sorry,
I
Nick.
mean, I think
I think they'll
Birmingham
be all right.
guys. I
But
think they're going to know
they'll
that
know.
in this year
Yeah,
it would have to be. So,
of
of
course.
course, our best live act of 2025 is the Ozman Ozzy himself. Moving on, already having some real tough decisions. Best breakthrough artist. So, of course, people going, what do you mean breakthrough? Haven't we had like a ones to watch? Breakthrough is a different category entirely. You could have been around for 20, 30 years and you may have finally broken through and, become known. I think a prime example of this in previous years was Anthony Gomes,
Yeah.
who, of course, won Best Breakthrough Artist, but he had been going for about 30 odd years. But of course, he broke through, and I mean, I didn't even know of him until that year that he did that.
I hadn't heard of
Uh,
him until you did your interview, mate. And what a guy.
this is it. And here he is. He's getting shows, and he's doing, getting like top albums all over the road now. So I think he's the definition of breaking through. So the nominees for this year are Jesse Wells, The Soul Revival, and Parker Barrow. Again, we have quite a varied list going on here. I want to start with Jesse Wells. Do you know who Jesse Wells is?
I hadn't come across them.
Right. So Jesse Wells is a solo artist, and he was doing like little like YouTube and Instagram videos playing on his guitar in the middle of a field for years, right?
Okay.
And then something this year happened where he just exploded out of nowhere. He all of a sudden started playing on like prime time TV in America. He's putting songs out on an insane basis. Like this year in particular, I have never seen somebody with such an output in 1 year. He is currently, to date, unless he sneaks another one out this year, he has put out 4 albums this year.
Yeah.
4 albums in 1 year. Unbelievable output, and he's like a throwback artist. I would compare him to a Bob Dylan,
Okay.
an incredible lyricist. I would argue, in fact, probably the best lyricist since Bob Dylan.
No, big claim.
Elite, yeah, very elite musician. Very good guitarist as well. I think that kind of gets forgotten a bit because he's got these very profound lyrics, but there is something extremely special about him. I have not seen such an X factor in a musician in decades.
Wow.
There
Okay.
is all he does is come out with a guitar. He's got an acoustic guitar. Sometimes he'll have a backing band, but
Mhm.
is very kind of bare bones. There's no bullshit. Like he's very real. He doesn't dress up. He doesn't dress fancy. He wears jeans and like a jumper. And he's just this real guy that somehow managed to get his way through this system. I mean, recently he was even on Joe Rogan. Like he's gone from like
Okay.
nowhere to everywhere very quickly in the space of like a year. I mean, he's been knocking around. I did some diving. He's been knocking around for many a year. And all of a sudden, he's kind of come out of nowhere and he's changed genres. So
Okay.
the interesting thing I found when you go backwards in his catalog, Um, he used to be more of a grunge guy. Like
All right.
yeah, he'd be a bit more of like a grunge kind of singer. Um, you know, that in that vein. Whereas he's adapted his style, he's gone more towards this kind of singer-songwriter, maybe even slightly country at times. Um, and it's completely changed his world. And the I don't know whether he's gone to the crossroads somewhere and signed some deal, but it seems overnight he's developed this ability to continually put out new songs. I have never seen anything like it.
Wow.
Eh,
Okay.
on a monthly basis, he has like a new song.
That's impressive.
It's unbelievable. So I felt that he had to be in this category because he's literally gone from like I don't even know who this guy is to being on primetime television in the space of a year.
Wow.
Um, and then obviously to put out 4 albums as well. I thought, my God, like,
Yeah.
where's it going to end? But yes, that is Jesse Wells. Uh, one of your nominees, the Soul Revival.
Yeah, I mean the guys have been around a little while now. Carl Salik's formerly of Wolf Jura and Bad Flowers.
Mm,
Obviously, um, you know, he came back with a soul revival. They released some great singles. But they just seem to be everywhere at the minute. Every festival lineup that I see that puts out, I'm guilty of that. They're playing Just Push Play in May. But they are everywhere and they're doing really well and they seem to be getting some great support slots. A lot of good vibes about them. Most weeks I go online, someone on my feed has seen them somewhere
mm,
and is posting a video up or off to see Soul Revival tonight. And I just think the guys have really had a breakthrough year in terms of really getting people upright and in that community and building things up and becoming a name people mention again. Not just
mm,
a and not just a oh, it's Carl from Wolfjaw's new band. No, this is Soul Revival now.
mm,
And it feels like there's that transition has now happened. Of course, no disrespect at all to Wolfjaw and Bad Flowers as they were
mm,
formerly. Love those guys to bits and always will. But it feels like this has got its merit on its own right.
mm,
And I just feel that, and to the point where with what I do with New Horizon, when I've spoken to some bands that I'm working with on the roster and that, they've name checked Soul Revival as, can we kind of work to a model what they're doing?
mm,
Can we follow this pattern? They seem to be doing this. And when other bands are clocking not only how you are in your music, in your live shows, but also how you're kind of running yourselves in terms of logistics, in terms of the paths you're laying and the steps you're taking to get where you want to be. I think that says a lot as well. And yeah, I just feel like every time I turn the line, someone I know who's gone to seeing them, or they've been announced for another tour or another show and support, or whatever it may be. They went and filled in with Black Spiders recently on this tour. They had a band pull out last minute. Soul Revival went and filled in the slot. Um,
mm,
so yeah, I think they deserve a chance in the talks of this.
mm. And finally, we have another one of yours, Parker Barrow.
Yeah, again, a band that this time last year I'd kind of heard the name, but not
Mm,
necessarily heard them. I was hearing these rumblings of this band, from Tennessee that I should check out, Parker Barrow. And at the beginning of the year, I heard, I had one or two people kind of message the show and say, could you play this or could you play Y? Um, and they've just gone on tour, been on tour with The Damn Truth. Saw them do this and it blew my fucking head off, frankly. They were incredible. And they were over here early this year, and I was hearing a lot of rumblings about it, but I feel like with this last couple of tours they've been over in the UK, they're already set to come back for places like and they're on Call the Wildfire, Call the Wild Festival. I think they're also on Made of Stone as well. You know,
Mm,
they've got some great festival dates already lined up. They've already announced that they're going to come back on their own footing based on the sort of reception they've been getting and feel like they can now come back on their own footing. Um, and their EP they release, Graze the Mash, brilliant,
mm,
brilliant. Like 5 tracks and it packs of punches equally as hard as anything I've heard this year. Um, and I just seem to be again another band that I was gone from a few people talking to me about it to a lot of people talking to me about them and a lot more requests. To the
mm.
point where I was having to kind of say, well, I'll play them a couple of weeks on the bounce. Like I've got to
Yeah,
rotate
yeah.
bands, people, you know. But which is always nice because people want to hear what they're enjoying at the end of the day. So yeah, that's it. It's for those reasons that I thought they were worth chucking their name in the ring.
Mm. So, of course, we've reached that point where we have to somehow come to a conclusion. I feel, in my eyes, I'm looking at Soul Revival and I'm looking at Parker Barrow as two bands that are kind of nearly breaking through, but they're not quite there yet, in my eyes. Or
Yeah,
am I wrongly? What do you reckon?
I don't think it's cruel as to tell you you're wrong, mate. But
You have no idea, Ryan. What are you doing?
I feel that Soul Revival are definitely ones that now people taking note of. Do I
Mm.
think they've got more to give and more in that? Yeah,
This is it. I
I
feel
think there's
that,
more there.
yeah.
I think that there's definitely always more in the tank with those guys, and I do feel like people are taking note of them now. I do feel like
Mm.
they've definitely proved their worth on the live circuit, and as for their output with singles like Outlaw and everything doing really well. I don't think they've quite put to their next level yet, I guess, if we're going to put it in those terms.
Yeah. In terms
Uh,
of breaking through, I feel that there are a whole new section of people that are yet to discover them for
yeah,
them to reach that breakthrough tier.
I think that's fair.
Um, and I feel that they would perhaps agree with. I think that they're going, yes, we're coming after those people next year.
Darren Cole, yeah.
And I feel that Parker Barrow are kind of in a similar thing. Obviously opening for the Damn Truth. I think that they're coming along. They're getting there. It feels both of these bands feel like a previous winner to me.
Mm.
In previous years, we had Troy Redfern, who
Yeah.
I remember who got nominated twice,
Yeah,
two
he did.
years running, and he got nearer and nearer. And he hadn't quite broken through yet because we felt that he hadn't quite done it at that point. He hadn't quite done that kind of full headline tour.
Yeah.
We felt that he was nearly there, but he hadn't quite done it. He just does his headline tour and he gets it. And I think that is perhaps what's missing here. I think that both of these bands are coming along, but they're not quite there yet. It's like they're not finished cooking, in my eyes. Whereas I feel Jesse has kind of come along and he's just exploded to such a degree, particularly 4 albums in 1 year, where he just kind of slapped me across the face to the point where I can't even deny it. I don't know anybody else that can do four in a year. I mean, ironically, probably Troy. He did
Yeah,
what,
right, probably.
five?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did five, yeah.
During COVID, I think he did 5 in a year.
He did do
But
really good.
I just feel that degree of output and his videos going viral all over the place, getting on prime time American TV.
Given what you're saying about, I mean, to get on something like Joe Rogan, fucking hell.
Yeah. Joe
Um,
Rogan, 4 albums in a year.
yeah, based on those merits, and going to have to go and educate myself on him.
Oh
Uh,
my God. I mean, he's not afraid as well to talk about things that need to be talked about.
okay, cool.
He will sing about things that are maybe to some people controversial.
Right, okay. Definitely gonna have to go check them out.
It's very interesting. I believe anybody out there that is feeling disillusioned or even like he's got something for everybody. But for those in particular that are disillusioned, he really does hit that nail very well. Like
Oh,
he's speaking to people. It's interesting that having seen some live videos, people are already singing his own songs back to him. So yes, have we reached our conclusion?
I think so, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So our best breakthrough artist of 2025 is Jesse Wells. Moving on, this category is not going to get any easily. We
Well, any of
have
them?
best we have best UK band.
Ooh.
Oh yes. So first up, we have Black Sabbath. Next up, we have Those Damn Crows, and finally, we have the Wild Hearts. Again, I wanted to put Black Sabbath in. I mean, obviously, people go, "Oh yeah, but Aussies, fronting it, blah blah blah." Obviously, this is the first time in a long time that we saw the original Black Sabbath
Yeah.
reform and say their goodbyes. Again, kind of similar to Ozzy in many ways, but that end moment where Black Sabbath came out, it felt like something monumental. It felt like something special. Seeing Bill Ward back on the drums, it
Mm.
feels like something special, even though he kind of looked like Gollum. Um,
Tony Iommi said that to him, didn't
but there was something there. There was still that magic that they had, and again, you look around and you think, is it going to be there? Is it going to be a bit weird? Like it's old men. Are they going to be capable? But damn right they are. Um,
I don't think Geezer Butler will ever lose it, just as a bass
no,
player.
I was going to say I think Geezer Butler could play until the end of time. He seems
Yeah.
perfectly fine. Um, like just a walk in the park, really. It was,
I think
yeah.
Dave Geezer could have played the whole day, I think, and he would have been still
I was
been.
going to say, I think he could have just done the entire set, just sit in.
Yeah.
Um, yes, I felt that it's a special band in a special moment. Of course, though, we have some other strong candidates here. Those Damn Crows, of course, a band that you wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, I think those guys, they've been consistent the last few years, and I think they've done some really cool things. They've gone from, doing the third stage of downloads to being sort of middle of the bill for the main stage, and proving their point there. The last album was a UK number one. So I think it was the first UK number one. So that was it's been a really, really solid year for the boys. Um, they just seem to go from strength to strength every time they come out. They, most the majority of the tour, supporting the new album, sold out. Like I say, they went to number one. They're also, they're in that category now where people are talking about them amongst the best of British that are out there. They're not in that kind of, for want of a better term, new wave of classic rock category necessarily. I don't think anymore. I don't think they're in that rising category anymore. I think they're in that more. They're definitely in that established side of things, and I think they can hold their own. They were, opened up in recent years for ZZ Top. They're opening it
Mm.
up alongside those guys. Um, their own shows just sell out. You don't get a look in. Um, they've started playing arenas of their own now, especially in the home country of Wales. And yeah, I just think they should. If I'm talking about best British bands that are out there doing
Mm.
it, and they're what, three albums, 4 albums in now, and really, they're established in their career. People know where they're sitting. They're you know the only way up for them is in terms of festivals now is higher up that main stage. They're on that main stage lineup. I mean, I'm sure they might be able to, headline the second stage or something like that. But I mean, they've already broken the mold of being in the rising stage to being in, the smaller stages, and then now owning those stages. When I saw them at Download the other year, main stage, nothing daunted them about it. You know,
Mm.
it was all in their stride. Their show was perfect, and it just worked. So, and if I'm thinking about generally who are the top British bands at the moment, they're a name that keeps coming up when we're having those sort of conversations amongst friends. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, I don't think many people of them think of them anymore, like I say, as a rising band or a band that they're just a great British rock band now.
Mm.
Um,
No, I agree.
so yeah, for those reasons, I thought it was worth chucking their
Mm.
name.
And of course, we finally have the Wild Hearts.
Yeah, I mean the Wild Hearts, you know, they had a tumultuous couple of years.
Mm.
The classic lineup came back together, did the Renaissance Men album, and the album after that, which name escapes me off the top of my head. Um, but you know, the two albums, two great albums together, were doing great shows and all the rest of it. And then sadly, for whatever reason, and again, I'm not privy to anything, but it went by the wayside with that incantation. You know, this last year, Ginger, who I would have the good fortune of speaking to on my show, um, came back with a new lineup and a new album with Satanic Rites of the Wild Hearts. I've seen him a couple of times live now on it,
Mm.
and it's great. It's great. Like it's just, and it's no disrespect to CJ or to Richie, to Danny. CJ, I've also got to interview a few times and got to know him a little bit. And great guy. He's consistently putting out great material solo wise. But I guess when it all went kaput
Mm.
and they came back with a new lineup, I think it would have been, and I was
A lot
skeptical
of
like
people,
anyone because no
yeah.
one knew what was, you know, it wasn't like it went back to a lineup of band, with the exception of John Paul, who plays
Mm.
bass, who'd previously been in an incantation of the Wild Hearts. You know, this is all new guys.
Mm.
I think it would have been very easy, and I think I'm being honest. I did think, oh, okay, what's this going to be like? Because I hadn't seen that thing before, and you know, they come out with it, and it's Ginger in it, so he's just one of the best songwriters ever. Um, and I think to come out with an album that strong, after so many people may have written him off or written the band and the brand, if you like, of the Wild Hearts off.
Mm.
To come out with a tour that's successful, to a charting album, and to open it up on your own terms as well. I mean, the first song, the single he releases, is like 9 minutes long and full
Mm.
of swearing, so you can't actually play it on the radio. Classic Wild Hearts move. Um, But you know, you can do some clever editing these days if you're clever with the fade. That's what I found out. If you're clever with the fade switcher, you can make it work. Um, but you know, then they're back to sort of high end slots on festivals and
Mm.
another great tour lined up. It looks like they're set to release new music. I saw a post the other week saying that they've already been back in the studio. You know, the album only came out January, February time, I think it was, you know. So they're already going back in. There seems to be a dynamic here that's really working for him. And I think people from conversations I've had have been very excited by it.
Mm.
Um, Obviously, everyone loves the classic lineup. That's why they're a classic lineup. And you know, had they continued with CJ and Richie and Danny, I'd have been pleased as punch. You know, Renaissance Man and everything. 21st Century Love Songs. Thank you, Brain, for finally remembering the name of the last album. You know, great two albums. And if they continued, I'm sure they would have wrote another amazing record with that lineup. But it is where it is, and it's a great record, and
Mm.
they're still smashing it, and seemingly going on to bigger and bigger and bigger stages again. So yeah, and I think if you're going to talk about a classic British band who have been around for 30 odd years and are still doing it and still writing great songs, I think you've got to put them in
Mm.
there.
Mm. Of course, we've reached that point where we have to somehow make a decision.
Mm.
Um, I think all three of these are in here for different reasons.
Yeah.
All three of them are at different stages in their career as well.
Mm.
Um, it's tough. I mean, I feel in a year where that Black Sabbath show didn't happen, I think I would have probably have gone with Those Damn Crows.
Mm.
But I just keep looking at that Black Sabbath thing, and I just think it's so one of a kind, uh, like such a monumental one time moment where I'm like, it's like I feel there would be an uproar if I don't push that.
Yeah.
It's tough. I feel that, I can almost hear the audience going, pick Black Sabbath, Ryan. It's tough.
It is tough. And like you say, I think if you've been looking at it any other year where this gig hadn't happened,
Mm,
we'd be having a completely different conversation.
yeah.
But also don't think you can deny what an impact the gig had. Um, I
I
mean,
mean, of
not
course, Black Sabbath was the crescendo. That was the headlining moment.
Hmm,
So for those that go, but it wasn't Black Sabbath's day, that was what it was all leading up to.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
that is
All
the
all
pinnacle.
four original members back on stage.
Yes. And because of that, I felt that it had to be in this category, and I felt it had to have this kind of moment in the sun because that's ultimately what lots of people bought their ticket for. Those that went, of course, the day is amazing, and all of these different bands, but that's the thing you were waiting for, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's the moment. And it just feels because of it happening this year, it's perhaps shaped the award show slightly to where you can't not have them in there, Ozzy and Sabbath. We've got to do it,
we've
haven't we?
got
Just it
can't
feels
ignore.
like I feel like the audience is screaming at me. They're going, "It's look, Ryan, it's Sabbath. It's the last ever one." So you just kind of you feel like you have to in this scenario.
Yeah, I don't think you
So
can ignore.
it's no discredit to those Damn Crows or the Wild Hearts tour. I think in any other year they would really stand a solid chance of getting this. But I just think this is a once in a lifetime thing. So we kind of have to go for it.
I think so, man.
So the best UK band of 2025, and for the last ever time, it is Black Sabbath. Moving on. We have the best international band. Of course, we've had best UK band. So we want to go overseas now. Our nominees are Foreigner, Aerosmith, and Ghost. Quite, again, very
Yeah,
varied this year. I wanted to throw in Foreigner because obviously I spoke with Lou earlier this year. And it feels like there is this bitter-sweet last celebration, last push. I know that they're kind of moving forward with a new era of the band, but I feel for that kind of original era, they were celebrating the release of Four this year, and
yeah.
Lou is saying that he's going to come out and play some shows again, and that unfortunately Mick is very ill. It feels like
The first time.
maybe. Hmm?
Sorry.
It feels maybe like the last time, you know, and I think that obviously to a much lesser extent Sabbath, but again, the influence of a band like Foreigner is huge. You look at the hits, you look at everything that they've done. I mean, astonishingly, they have announced next year they're going to do a co-headline tour with Leonard Skinner.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
So you've got like two of these kind of almost legacy bands at this stage performing these incredible songs. And I just think that they become so big, they almost can't finish, like kind of Skinner have, where that music has elevated itself beyond the actual band themselves. which is a very unusual and powerful thing to happen. But I think seeing Lou come out again with the band and seeing how he is there for his friend again. That he said that he didn't want to leave him behind. Basically, he
Yeah.
wanted to be there to represent his friend, and I thought that was very special. And I felt that with the legacy of the band, I think they at least needed to be in the conversation. Um, Aerosmith, obviously, your suggestion, to the
Never.
shock of many people.
People will not believe that, mate. I think you've
I
just
know.
put it in to try and stitch me up. Yeah. No. Um, Obviously, a couple of years ago, they announced their um uh, farewell tour, the peace out tour. They've got what, three, maybe four dates into stateside with it, with like rumors of further dates lined up thereafter that hadn't been announced yet. And Steven Tyler screws his voice box,
Mm.
and not for what many people would think it was, of course, of being 75 years old at the time and singing Dream On for best part of 50 years. No, he fell over on stage and hits his throat into the drum.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Mm. Like literally, and he literally physical impact fractures his voice box.
Wow.
Uh, in recent interviews I've seen, where they talk about that incident, they're talking about the fact that he couldn't even talk for months.
Mm.
He was in very much in isolation. Um, he gave himself like a year to recover, to redo the shows. It gets close to the dates. Aerosmith, as we know it, have just pulled out of doing any live touring ever again.
Mm.
And so, as this thing, we've tried to push this. We've tried to, recuperate and do everything that we can to get Steven Tyler singing. No one wants Steven Tyler to do a half-assed job, you know what I mean? And there are so many acts where you go see of their vintage, shall we say, where you go and you go, yeah, they've dropped that key,
Mm.
or they go, oh, you shouldn't have done that song anymore. And I never did I have that with Aerosmith. There were moments where I was like getting, the classic dream on Scream going to see them, and you're thinking, please still be able to do this,
Mm.
please. But he did, always kicked it out of the park. Um, and as a huge Aerosmith fan, to think that my mind was in two. You got my favorite band ever saying that they're not going to grace the stages again, and they're not going to do anything anymore as we know it, for at least for a while. But equally, they're doing it with a bit of grace and a bit of, I mean, we've spoken about that before, the fact that they went,
Yeah.
you know what, if we can't do it to the standard we want to do it, then it's been a
Walk
great
away.
50 years. It's been a great
Yeah.
50 years. Good night. And there's a dignity in that. And fair play to them. But this year, fucking hell, did they come back? They started to, Steven Tyler popped up with the Black Crows at a live show right at the beginning of the year. Doing bits and pieces. Joe Perry's been going out with the Joe Perry project. Also, ironically, with Chris Robinson of the Black Crows singing. And then Steven Tyler starts pinging up at a few gigs and doing some Aerosmith stuff with the Joe Perry project. And you're thinking, okay, maybe he can sing a song or two.
Mm.
You're talking about the Sabbath show, Steven Tyler shows up and kicks it out of the park. Like, he came on 77 years old and smashed it.
And he
Uh,
was a bit of a curveball as well for that show.
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
really think that he would fit, to be
No,
honest.
no, he was a curveball one,
Mm.
and he comes out, and then this rumbling starts of this new music that they were supposed to be working on. And then it becomes a bit of a more of a rumbling that they're going to be working with young blood. And you're like, is that going to work?
Mm.
It does. It really, really does. The EP, the One Last Time EP, has not left my vinyl player or my car stereo since both vinyl and CD landed with me. My mate James Smith, he was listening to it, and I did with it one thing I've not done for a long time, which was to not immediately stream it. I was like, no,
Mm.
this album, this release, I'm waiting for the vinyl's on its way. It didn't come land with me on release day, and for me not to listen to that was fucking hard. But I did the thing. Okay, no, I'm going to go old school on this. I'm going to do like when you're a teenager and excited for an album, it's going to be an event. I laid on the sofa here, I put my vinyl on, and I just zoned out the world and just had it on loop for a bit and just nothing else. No social media, no distractions, just vinyl. And it's an incredible release. And there'll be people listening to this going, Lee, you would say that it's you and Aerosmith. And maybe they're right to a certain degree. Maybe I would just say it's great, but it feels like it's refreshed. It feels like they're back in some degree. And there's people saying, oh, it's just Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. Well, it's not if you look at it. Brad Whitford and Tom Hamilton come up on it. Matt Sorum has done the drums throughout it. Joey Kramer is pretty much retired from playing now. I think that was obvious for the last tour. He wasn't going to be appearing there either.
Hmm.
Matt Sorum, I think, is a great replacement on the EP as a remix of Back in the Saddle. So they are using Joey Kramer's drum parts on that, and it just sounds great. And it's got the fire up in the gut, and they just see Joe Perry and Steven Tyler in the interviews and things I've seen since being so buzzed up about it, considering where they thought everything they've worked for 50 years it was gone. It was gone. It wasn't coming back. And yet they seem to come back somehow. And they all seem to come back out from a disaster period sort of fighting. When they came back in the 80s and after, splitting up through drinking drugs and everything else, they came back and that was a collaboration that brought them back together, with Run DMC and doing Walk This Way. And now they're doing this EP with Youngblood. And it just feels right. And it just feels like when a band who have that legacy kind of have it robbed a little bit, to have come back in the way they've done in terms of keeping the name out there with their live performances and showcasing bits and pieces what they've been doing live, and now to come out with this EP. And being a huge Aerosmith fan, I just can't not put them forward. Just can't not do it.
Finally, of course, we have Ghost. It's a band that had been around for a few years now.
Been around a while, but like with the last album that they released early this year, Skelter, it just feels like they've really hit another level. Like every time I see them, they seem to have like pushed up a gear, but this seems like it again. Skeletor, that was a #1 on the US billboards. That did really well for them. It also hit top positions. UK got fairly high, but Europe and Germany, Australia, Switzerland, Sweden, places like that, it did, it's continuing well. I think people are starting to recognize there's a lot of call for them, especially now to be that next band to headline festivals like Download, and I think that's like absolutely would be a correct move for that ilk. I think there's a lot of people in the industry, in terms of those who've been around a while, being quite vocal on the fact that they support what they do. And they just seem to be that band that are really consistently making an impact, both live, visually. They've gone up to the arenas now. They obviously did the tour where they were talking about, there was a big thing about them because they were doing like a no mobile phone thing with the tour, and you got your pouch to put your phone in and all that kind of thing. And there was a lot of investment on it to like get people just to pay attention, really. We've all been at shows where you get told don't take your phone out, and people are still doing it, and it's quite irritating. I'm all for one for like taking a couple of snaps and getting your little memento thingy, but realistically, videos, you ever going to watch them again?
Yeah.
I don't think you do. And I get it, it's part of the culture and everything else, but for them to that was a huge talking point. All Ghost to doing this, and they've done that, and then now Iron Maiden said they did a kind of more informal thing of please don't, we'd appreciate if you didn't. But I saw a recent interview with Bruce Dickinson when he's saying, well, for the next tour, we're going to kind of insist. We are going to go down that route.
Enough. Yeah.
We are going to go down that route of what Ghost did. And when you're a band and you're therefore what you're setting precedent for with stuff like that is then influencing more established acts to go, you know what? I think we'll do that. And that says a lot about your caliber when people start taking notice of you, similar to what we said before, if people are taking notice of what you're doing as a thing of like, okay, well, we can do that. If they can do that, why shouldn't we be doing that? And
Mm.
there's the other part of me thinks a little bit sad that people have got to lock away their phone to keep it in their pocket for an
Yeah.
hour and a half.
It feels like, like, did it really have to come to this point? But
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, I mean, when me and Joe went to go see Tool the year before last now up in Manchester, they're very much a don't want you filming kind of act, and that's fine. Similarly, when we saw Stephen Wilson, that was the same thing. You got big signs up before they come on stage saying, please don't, record
Mm.
and everything else. And realistically, do you want to watch a performance through your screen anyway? Do you not want to submerge
Yeah.
yourself in it and soak up the atmosphere we were talking about other live shows? So when they're investing in that level, they're getting the number one albums and hits, and arguably should be the next headliners at our big festivals. I think they got
Mm.
to be put forward into the mix. I think they deserve that.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, ultimately we have to make a decision somehow between these. I think, we've got two very established historic bands up against a new band.
Hmm.
Well, relatively new anyway, in comparison to those other two.
Yeah.
Um, who are we edging towards in terms of what these bands have done this year, do we think?
In terms of this year, for me, it's got to be Aerosmith. It has to be. To come back from a nothing, from a that's your career over. I know
Mm,
Lou Graham with Foreigner has obviously come back to doing live shows with them for the first time for a long time, but Foreigner as an entity didn't kind of necessarily stop
no.
despite Mick Jones's health and everything. And I saw him a few years ago at Ramblin' Man Fair. I think he came
Mm,
on for like a couple of songs, but even then, and that was God, that was 2019, so that's 6 years ago. So you could
yeah.
see then that he wasn't a well man. Um, but the entity of Foreigners continued. Um, and I think it's cool that Lou Graham has gone out and done these bits with them. I think that adds a
Mm,
certain level of authenticity about it, especially when Kelly Hansen, after so many years, has decided to step away.
yeah.
Um, but for me, with everything that they've been through and thought, and I thought that was going to be the end, and Aerosmith were no more. And to come back with notable appearances, I mean, I got 7 phone calls when he turned up at the Black Sabbath show because I don't think he was like, I think he was kind of announced, but not really.
Yes, it wasn't really a
It's kind of like
complete.
an under the radar announcement. It wasn't sort of
Yeah.
like a big,
Like he wasn't in lights on the billing,
no.
you know.
Um, I had 7 people very excitedly calling me saying, "Oh, you're definitely going to be pissed off you're not here."
Mm,
Um, and people messaging me afterwards saying, "Man, you can still do it." I thought, you know,
mm,
and to
thought that
come
was
back
it.
from an injury, and then on this record, some of the notes he's hitting, you're thinking, Jesus. And it's made quite a social impact, I feel. The
Mm,
record of, Aerosmith and Youngblood together, and there's a lot of you get at that kind of a collaboration, you're gonna have a lot of people with a lot of things to say, whether they're for or against, and people will have their
good or bad though, it's put them in the conversation again
yeah.
for a band that has had seemingly been finished.
Hmm.
Um, it does feel like a comeback is
Hmm.
happening. Like I feel like we're kind of in the middle of it, but I do think there
Yeah.
is a comeback.
It feels
Um,
like their reputation has almost been re-established. I think it's opened the doors to
yes.
people going back it and reassessing just how much of an impact they had. A bit like Sabbath with the live show,
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
see everyone they've influenced, and now you see the impact that Aerosmith has had not only artists on someone like Youngblood who wants to come along and
Mm.
take the opportunity to work with them, but everyone in between. I mean, Joe
Mm.
Perry. I mean, Jesus Christ, the man's 75 years old and he's still.
I mean, and he looks better than I do. I mean, what's going on?
No,
You know?
like he came on when they did the Grammy thing for Oz, and there's a few different people. Nuno Bettencourt and stuff was on that. Joe
Yeah.
Perry and Steven Tyler turn up to do More Than Words, and Joe Perry's 75 years old in PVC leather trousers, a shirt unbuttoned to his belly button, and looking cool as fuck. Like every
What
inch.
other pensioner would be able to do
Exactly.
that?
Exactly. You
You
know,
know.
and this is it. You know, not only did they do the sort of live performance of popping up their own shows, but they suddenly became a cultural thing of like touch and bass. You know, Steven
Mm,
Tyler does the Sabbath show, and then him and Joe Perry turn up at the Grammys to do the Aussie tribute and everything else that's sort of gone on in between.
mm,
You know, Joe Perry at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Bad Company. When Bad Company were accepting their things, like Paul Rogers couldn't make it because of health things, and they put a band together. Tom Kerr was still there playing drums, but obviously he was the only member of Bad Company on the stage. But Joe Perry's up there. You know,
mm,
it's become a thing of that they're getting seen again. They're out there again. They're doing it. They're becoming a touchstone, a cornerstone again. I feel
mm.
on this last year. So yeah, that's just my opinion. It's
No, I think we've reached our conclusion. I feel that of the three candidates here, I feel Ghost maybe aren't quite ready yet.
Hmm.
I think maybe they've been unfortunate and landed in a year where
What's happened? Yeah.
two very established bands have managed to get themselves into this. But yes, I think we've reached our conclusion. The best international band of 2025 is Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought that we'd be saying that last year?
Well, exactly. Last year they weren't
Mm,
there.
exactly. Well, no more.
Yeah.
Moving on, best solo artist. Of course, gives that chance for the individual to shine. Our nominees are Jesse Wells, Anthony Gomes,
Hmm.
Youngblood, and Toby Jepson.
Hmm.
I wanted to obviously throw in Jesse Wells for the reasons that I had stated previously with Breakthrough. 4 albums in a year, an astonishing output and an astonishing rise so quickly. I haven't seen anything like this. I mean, his level of rise has been faster than Greta Van Fleet.
Hmm.
It is so quick that it was almost blink and you'll miss it. So again, I feel I had to kind of put him in this solo category because he is a solo artist and I mean, writing all these songs on his own and to be
No.
putting out, yeah, completely on his. There is nobody else on the writing credits. It's just himself. This guy from Arkansas is just come out of nowhere, and he's doing something quite unprecedented. So yes, I wanted to throw him in there. Anthony Gomes, of course, he's come back with a new album again, and a very good album at that.
Hmm.
And I think that he has continued this upward trajectory that he kind of first started with that record a few years ago. And I think he's just he's being his genuine self. He's doing his thing. He's doing he's playing the music that he loves to play. He hasn't kind of sold himself out to get that extra level. He's just been his authentic self, and you can't help but like him.
Yeah.
His
Very
music
likable.
his music makes you smile. It makes you feel good. Sometimes it'll make you laugh. He has that kind of those kind of funny lyrics in there sometimes, and sometimes it'll have something quite profound in there. He's really quite varied. So again, I wanted to throw him in there. And of course, your last two nominees, Youngblood and Toby Jepson,
Yeah.
quite varied.
Yeah. Well, my music taste is quite varied, to be fair. With Mr. Jepson, I just think he's like I've always said he's one of my favorite songwriters ever. And he's faced a lot of stuff health wise this year with back issues and things like that. This past year or so, and in the midst of it, he releases the Lookout series of EPs. The most recent one being Lookout Volume 2. Being quite open about his mental health journey and everything else like that. We spoke about that on the radio show. And I just think he's had, on top of that, he goes out and does his solo shows. Looks from conversations that I'm having that Wayward Sons are looking to write and record next year. So it has been a solo year for him. Just about, I think he's just launched literally today the news of a Christmas release of some description, whether that's a full album or an EP. I didn't quite manage to catch it before me and you started speaking.
Mm,
Um, but he's released Lookout Volume 2. He's gone out and done these shows. He's an incredible songwriter. And, you know, a man who's he's the most authentic guy you'll ever meet.
mm,
And, you know, he goes out, he is what he is. You know, he has a bad spate of mental health that goes into his music. He goes through something that goes into there. And while we're talking about solo guys, hey, I just have to talk about Mr. Jepson. I just think he's wicked. Simple as that. Lookout Volume 2 was a great continuation of the story. And maybe this is me coming from a personal aspect because I've been quite honest on my radio show, and I'll be honest here, you know about this, but like I've gone through my CBT and my own therapy this last year and stuff and dealing with some stuff of my own. And to
mm,
have someone like Mr. Jepson come along and be so honest and frank about, right, this collections of songs was at this stage, this is this bit. And not in a like go from A to B to C and you'll be okay, but just in a this is my experience.
mm,
I found really empowering. I found it very powerful. I found it really deep, and in a world where us men are notoriously shite at talking about how we're feeling, what we're doing, and him being so open and doing this sort of spoken word thing where we went into more depth about that kind of thing, and the conversations I've had with him personally,
mm,
and him checking in, which was really cool. Um, when I sort of mentioned my own experiences and what I felt on Lookout Volume 1, you know, when we broke up for Lookout Volume 2 before we hit record, he was checking in and making and saying, you know, how you been, mate? You know, and it was
that's
genuine.
really cool.
You know, there
Yeah.
was a genuine concern might be as too much dramatic, but there was a genuine want to know, you know, where
Mm,
are you at now? And we spoke about that kind of thing. And to have someone who's that open and genuine in a world where I feel really needs it sometimes. You know,
mm.
you've got these idiots online like Tommy Robinson or the fucking bellends that we could mention right now that are such a negative influence to younger men, and you're getting this kind of toxic masculinity bollocks
Mm,
that is seemingly infiltrating a lot of younger guys. And we, you know, we live in a society where being masculine is automatically kind of labeled as being toxic, and that's not always the case. Sometimes being masculine and it doesn't mean beating people up, and it doesn't mean arguing with people. It's just, you know, there are masculine men and there are feminine guys, and there are feminine women and there are masculine women. You know, it's just part of people's psyche. But and don't get wrong, toxic masculinity, absolutely, that should be fucking nailed out. And like this is not that's not cool on any level. But when you've got a society where uh sadly kids who maybe have that anger in them, they might have um you
where do
know,
you put it?
where do you
Yeah.
put it? What do I do with this? And they're
Mm,
not being told what to do with it. So idiots will manipulate that. But you know, when you've got people like doing that, I think it's so powerful to have someone come along. You know, Toby's been around 30 years from Little
mm,
Angels onwards doing bits and pieces,
yeah.
and with Gun and you know, everything else that he's done along his career, leading up to solo work and Wayward Sons and back to doing this Toby and the Tree thing. I just think it's really empowering and really cool to have someone of that caliber to go, right, I'm feeling like this and I'm
Mm,
going to lay it out there. And if you resonate with it, it's there for you. And if you don't, then okay. But I just think it adds another dimension that people might consider before looking at the more toxic side of
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So, and when I've had, you know, I deal with a lot of younger kids in my work, and I've done through the grief counseling and stuff, and music's a powerful tool when you're dealing with stuff like that. And I think an album that's as honest as that, Look Out Volume 2 is, I just think it's worth noting.
Mm.
Um, Moving on with To Youngblood, I just don't think you can deny the year that man's had. Like, like he has been everywhere. Like,
Yes.
a couple of years ago, um, I've been a fan for a little while, and a couple of years ago he released his last album, which I didn't quite resonate with. There's certain tracks on it that I
Mm,
really liked, and then he kind of went away to bring out Idols, which he brought out earlier this year,
mm.
which is a storming album for me. Everyone's got their opinions and stuff, and it's just my opinion now because I know you don't resonate with it, mate. So I know
I'm waiting for my moment, Lee.
you're not getting it. But I know not everyone resonates with it, and there's all this sort of thing behind it and stuff, and that's fine. People got different opinions, it's all cool. But to do that, to do the set at Aussie where he did changes, to do the Grammy
Mm.
appearance where he did Crazy Train and everything with everyone, now the EP with Aerosmith,
Very
just
active. Yes.
really active, like literally kind of everywhere. And I think a couple of years ago, if you said to someone in the street, "Oh, have you heard of Youngblood?" Like just anyone in the street, I don't mean like a rock fan necessarily, just anyone in the street, you probably would have, you might have got like he was, a bit of pop punk culty kind of figure, you might have got a few fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now I think after everything, I think most people would go, "Oh, that's the guy that did changes at the Sabbath show." Or,
Mhm.
that's the guy who's just released his Idols album. Boy, he's been on quite a lot of kind of mental health podcasts himself, which has been quite cool. And
Mm,
his sort of views on that. Um, just, being on the tour, being around the world, literally everywhere, doing this, that,
mm,
and the other, just announced a run of other sort of more intimate dates, which sold out in 3 minutes because I tried to get a ticket to it. Off to see him next year on his UK dates for Idols. A lot of those shows have already sold out. Um, do I believe him to be the savior of rock, as some people in the media have decided to put upon his shoulders?
mm,
No, I don't. I think he's a really cool artist. I really like him. I think he's brung a lot of rock stuff to the masses in terms of to the younger generation and things like that. I don't think he's saved anything. I think he's reutilized a lot of stuff that's going on, like everyone has.
mm,
You know, Everything's influenced by what went on before, and he's been very open in interviews saying he wanted to make that kind of album, and he was listening to a lot of Bowie and Sabbath and Floyd and all those kind of things, and that was the kind of thing he wanted to go and create. And I think he's done a good job, and I think it's a really good album.
mm.
Um, I think he's obviously ruffled some feathers, as you're about to say. Uh, but for
Yeah.
those reasons, I don't think you can deny the impact in the year that he's had. And
Mm.
that's my side of the coin.
No, that's fine. Um, I mean, I'm not going to go in as hard as Justin Hawkins,
Yeah,
but
that was a bit
for,
much.
for those out there that are thinking, "Fucking hell, he's going to go in on him now," I'm not going in that hard. Um, but there is something that I do not resonate with him. Like I don't get that thing. Like for me, he doesn't have that special quality that people keep talking about.
Okay.
I keep hearing this thing, oh, he's the next whatever. He's the
Mm.
next big thing. I don't see it. My biggest grievance, maybe it's more to do with his production team. I don't know. I hear a lot of auto tune,
Mm.
and I've had this problem not just exclusively with him. I had the exact same problem with the Rolling Stones last
I
release.
remember you mentioning that about the time.
Yes, and for that matter, this one's going to be controversial. I've had a bit of that problem with Ozzy Osbourne's last release.
Mm.
I can hear auto tune. Anytime I hear auto tune, I say I can hear auto tune, like because it's just not for me.
Same producer on the Stones on the Aussies tracks, though.
Yes, and it's the same producer. So it would be very interesting if the same guy was producing Youngblood's material as well.
I don't know.
No, if it is, that's 3 for 3, and it's definitely the production guy. But for me, there is a bit of that, and there is something about his voice that I don't like. When he was performing with Aerosmith,
Mm.
it it doesn't do it for like it really highlighted it for me. Being I mean, it doesn't help being next to Steven Tyler, but
No, that's a tough man to stand next to if you see.
yes, it is. But there's not that kind of for me. There isn't that individuality. I don't. You hear Steven Tyler, it's undeniably Steven Tyler. Whereas I hear Youngblood, and if I can wade through the pitch correction, it's a standard voice. It's maybe a good voice, but it doesn't blow me away. Whereas a lot of singers, particularly in rock, they've got this real signature character. You hear a Lou Gramm, it's instantly Lou Gramm. You hear Ozzy, it's instantly Ozzy. Youngblood hasn't really given me something where I go, that's who he is. There are things where I go, that's a bit like this, or this reminds me of this.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't that moment where I go, that's this guy specifically. And maybe he is yet to do that for me anyway.
Yeah.
He may very well go and do that at one point in the future. I would love it to happen. But currently, he's just not doing it for me. And if he could just damn well sack off this auto pitch correction and get rid of the auto tune, I would be much more towards him. And I don't know whether there's this thing because he definitely came from the pop world first.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's just this is how I've always done it, so I'm going to do it this way. But I just feel he needs somebody that goes, come on, be a bit brave, get rid of all this crap. Like you don't need it. Let's go and do it what I would class as the proper way.
Yeah.
If he did that, instantly I would have much more respect. And for God's sake, stop going around without a shirt on everywhere. And wearing leather trousers. Like I'm wearing leather trousers now, but I'm wearing a shirt. Why? Because I would be like Jim Morrison. Like, don't do it. It's been done. It's okay. Leave it alone. And I know he's a young man that wants to show off his chest, but like, develop your own thing. Find a thing. I feel he hasn't found a thing yet. A thing that makes him Youngblood. That's that doesn't make me go, oh, that's like whoever. I just don't think he's there yet. But he's how old?
27, 28 or something.
Right. Okay. So he isn't even 30 yet.
No.
So there is time. So no, like he's got time. I mean, he's not going to be bothered by my opinions, but I just want him to go and do something very individual. I would like that rather than any remote comparison to anything and sack off the production stuff. If he did that, I'd be much more on board. I mean, he got close to it with the Sabbath performance of Changes.
Yeah, that was a very cool. Very
and
cool.
there was no crap on it.
No,
like
no.
there was no auto-tune, there was no nothing. So it's like, so you can do this. And that for me is the thing. It's like, okay, so you can do it. You weren't shirtless. You were dressed quite well. Like I felt like, oh, we were nearly kind of building to your own style there. I don't know whether there's somebody in a room saying that he has to do this, and this.
There might be.
Because there is a lot of this going on in this industry. So I'm not necessarily singling him out. And maybe it's an industry problem. But I just think that, if there is somebody saying do this, and this, get rid of him. Like you're nearly there. Like if you just did more kind of stuff like the Changes thing from the Black Sabbath show, I feel that I mean, that was, I would say, a huge breakthrough moment for him.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
And it was a show highlight. So lean into that.
I mean, there's a reason he released it as a single the next week.
Yes, I mean, he's not stupid on that.
No.
But I would say go and do more stuff like that. That felt monumental. do that. As I say, I'm not in the realm of borderline hatred like Justin Hawkins, but
Yeah, that was like going a bit above and beyond, really. wasn't it?
I'm kind of in the realm of slight frustration because I'm like, you can be more.
Mm.
You know, if he hadn't have been doing these things, Justin Hawkins would have had no argument.
That's true.
You know, if you'd, and it's only a few things. So if he could do that, I would quite happily push him and say, yes, go for it, knock yourself out. But, you know, obviously he's not going to be interested in what I have to say. But I feel he's within touching distance. So it's, you know, maybe it just needs a bit of maturity and a bit of time. You know, as you age, you develop
Yeah.
different things and you go,
And
oh,
this
you
is
know
the
what?
first album that he's done, or first album
Mm,
cycle that he's done in this kind of realm of music. Like everything else was
yes.
pop punky. I quite like
Mm,
some of it. It was all right.
yeah.
But when he came out with Hello Heaven, Hello, which I personally think was a really fucking brave move to do that. You're doing not only a brand new style, but you're going to come out with a 9 minute track,
Mm,
first single,
yeah.
like, and to go like, yep, that's what I'm doing.
Mm,
And I think that made a statement. And I think people read into it too much. And I think
yes.
immediately when you put out something that's got, that's a longer song that's got several different components and everything. There
Mm,
was a lot of talk of, oh, it's a modern day Bohemian Rhapsody. Never say that
yes.
about any song
I
because
mean,
that immediately just
again, for
backs up.
me, his PR room, get rid of them because
Mm,
somebody at some point went, he's the next big rock star. He's going to be the next Aussie. And I was like, who is saying these things?
yeah,
Like they're putting such a high thing, almost god tier thing on him. And it's ridiculous. Like, cause it sets him up for that
that
level of
sets them up to
criticism.
fail.
Yes. And it's just not possible. Like lower that bar a little bit for Christ's sake. Say
Yeah.
maybe he is the next arena artist. That
Mm,
would be fine. Why do we have to go and say he's like the next historic level musician?
yeah.
It's ridiculous. Um, you know, I wouldn't say this about any of these candidates. I think it's you're putting too much pressure. So maybe it's his team that I have more of an issue with. But for me, it's just frustration because I'm like, you know, just remove these things and you'll be great. Um, so we're kind of nearly there with him, but he's under 30, so
Yeah.
you know, we're getting there. You know, there is time. He obviously just needs to hire me. So-
Oh, you for
and
production and PR.
it would go swimmingly well, you know. It wouldn't crash and burn his career at all, would it? No. Um, but yes, we've reached that point where we have to somehow make a decision on our best solo artist category. Who are we kind of leaning towards? I mean, I feel all of these candidates have a for and against thing against, like, you know, in each thing.
Yeah, I'm for Young Blood. You're against him. Yeah.
Well, I'm not completely against him. I just feel, you know, if he was in a cooker, he ain't finished yet.
Yeah. No, I can get that. I think
Yeah.
there's more to come from him, like we said with some other things.
Yes.
I wouldn't dispute that.
If he got rid of a few things, I think he's nearly there. But, you know, you could say that about numerous artists.
Mm.
But yeah, who are we kind of edging towards, you reckon?
Personally, not to continue the discussion, but I really am edging towards Youngblood. I just don't think you can deny the year he's had.
I don't know. For me, I just find, for me, it's the auto tune.
And I
If
can
he hadn't,
understand that because I've had similar conversations. Like we mentioned Blue
yeah,
Nation earlier. Me and Neil, the Blue Nation, have had similar discussions because
yeah,
he's very much on your side of the coin on this.
mm.
And equally, his wife, Mimi Detroit, is very much on my side of the coin. So it's quite fun.
Wow, so it's a divided household.
Divided household.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, this is purely opinion. It's nothing
Mm.
factual. I can't deny that Idols has been an album that's been pretty much solidly on rotation in this house. He's just done an EP with one of my favorite bands of all time, which I'm finding storming. His performance with Changes at Sabbath show was spectacular. Um, his performance at the Grammys, I enjoyed it. You
But you
could hear
see, that was controversial. Some people hated it.
I liked it. There was
Mm.
definite auto tune on his vocals. I'm not going to deny that.
Mm.
You could hear it in the pitch change, but I don't know. I just think there's something exciting about the guy. Um, and the cool things he was doing with giving Ozzy a cross. He's got Ozzy gave him a cross, and he went and got one made for Ozzy and everything. I thought that was quite cool. A nice little touch back. I think a lot of the problem people have with him is what the media are putting onto him. I don't think he's the
Yes.
guy putting on the thing of like he put a post up saying, yeah, and he's very good with his social media. Like he knows what he's doing on that, or his team, whoever doing his social media, very much know what they're doing on that front. But mainstream media kind of grabbed it and labeled it as this passing of the torch thing
Mhm.
and all that kind of thing, which, like you say, immediately gets people's backs up, like
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
But I don't think young blood would ever come around and say, "Oh, I am going to be
I
the next.
am the next.
I'm
Yeah.
the next Ozzy. I'm the next Bowie. I'm the next Steven Tyler." Whoever you were talking about with him at the time. Um, I think he's breathed a lot of life back into certain areas. I think he's shone a light on rock music in the mainstream media again.
Mm.
For what has been a long time quite an underground thing, and underground isn't a bad thing. I'm all for
Yeah.
people being underground as much as I like. But I think he's shone a light upon it. Um, yeah, there's a lot of force for him. Yeah, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you in terms of what you're saying with regards to the media aspect,
Mm.
to the auto tune vocals.
For me, the problem is in this category alone, he is the only person that uses pitch correction and auto tune. And that is my problem. Like we have
Mhm.
three other artists that basically don't use any kind of tech like that. And that for me is a problem. Because it's I mean, I understand that it is a tool, but it is quite a helping hand there, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And it's no matter who it is, anybody that does that always makes me go, you know, even Mick Jagger. And I went, you know. So it's not me coming after him exclusively, but
I know it's not.
so are there any other candidates that we could go for that we would both agree upon?
It's weird. Anthony Gomez, Toby
We got
Jackson.
we got Jesse Wells, we got Anthony Gomes, and we got Toby Jepson.
It's hard for me to comment on Jesse Wells because, as I was saying earlier, I've not really delved into them.
Yes.
And they are definitely someone I will be. It's probably
He's
someone in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. I'm going to end up messaging you saying, "Hey, Ryan, you were right." Because
he's an
that's
astonishing candidate. The obviously 4 albums in a year, but I feel that we need to have a candidate that we are both unanimous on.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, Anthony Gomes has been a consistent
yeah.
figure since his release a couple of years ago, and has followed it up again with
Oh,
another
it's a
very
great
popular.
record.
Yeah, I mean, again, it hit the charts again.
He's got some great festivals lined up already coming back.
Yeah, he's looking to come back again. Um, do we look at Anthony Gomes as an
Yeah,
option
oh,
here?
I think he deserves it, doesn't he?
Because I feel Toby Jepson is very good, but of course he's had his own things.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, do we throw in Anthony?
Yeah,
Does
that's
he
fair.
pip everybody at the post? I just feel there's too much attached to Youngblood. Like if I gave Youngblood this win, there would be half of my audience and yours that would say, yes, I'm on board with this.
Yeah.
And there will be half of it that will say, what is going on here?
Oh yeah.
And I feel until that gap unites a little bit more, I feel this, it shows that he's perhaps not quite finished. Whereas any of these other candidates, I feel they're more of the finished article. They're ready now for this kind of thing. I don't know, at least in my book. So okay, by a fierce battle, the winner of this year's best solo artist with another hit record, I hasten to add, 2 in a row now.
Oh, great record.
Can he make it 3? That is the question.
I'm sure he will.
It is Anthony Gomes. Wearing leather trousers befitting of Anthony Gomes this year. Moving on, thank God. Best single. So we've got Jesse Wells with Pilgrim. Again, we have Jesse Wells with Red. And then finally we have Aerosmith and Young Blood with My Only Angel. Of course, we know that you're a huge Aerosmith fan.
I am.
Some people love this record, well, songs. Some people are unsure about it. What is it for you that makes it that one?
I think for me, I mean, one, just hearing Steven Tyler's vocals on something again, was incredible, especially after what we heard with, his fractured vocal box and he wasn't talking and all this kind of thing. I kind of thought that, like, okay, that's gone to the wayside. And they hadn't released anything since 2000 and when the Music for Another Dimension came out, 2012.
Yes.
So it'd been a while, it'd been like 13 years. And it was kind of a surprise release almost as well. So it had that kind of impact about it. There was a tease about it, and then it was just like, right, bang, there's the first single. And instantly I was just like excited. Instantly it was like, yep, there's a Joe Perry riff, Steven Tyler's screeching, I'm happy. And the song, the more I listened to it, the more it kind of unveiled itself. I do think Youngblood's voice on it kind of bolsters it, and you can almost hear like a healthy competition between the old guard who's might have a bit of a vocal injury, but he's like, I'm going to show you how it's done. And the kind of young enthusiasm of Youngblood being like, well, I'm an excited puppy, I'm going to show off to the top dog kind of thing. And you can kind of always hear that kind of friendly competition in the vocal, especially when they're trading off in the chorus. And yeah, it was one, but the comments I saw online and the reviews that I saw online that may not have been so positive about the collaboration seemingly was writing the same things about this that I've seen them write about the last 5 Aerosmith albums.
Wow.
There was the same thing that they wrote about Music from Another Dimension or Honkin' on Bobo or Just Push Play, or even Nine Lives, where it was just like, oh, this doesn't sound like the 70s Aerosmith. Well, you know what? That was 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's quite a while ago, yeah.
And yeah, I'm a huge Aerosmith fan. Do I love Toys in the Attic? Do I love Last Child? Do I love Back in the Saddle? Draw the Line? Nobody's Fault, Round and Round. I could go on, but of course I do. But we're in 2025, and to have new Aerosmith music and whatever guys it was going to be was always going to be exciting for me. I think it's a really strong song. I think from the moment they that opening line, which of My Only Angel, and hearing the kind of choral between Youngblood and Steven Tyler vocally, I was instantly like, okay, this works. Because being honest, having heard Idols and then being a fan of Aerosmith, I didn't know if that pairing was necessarily going to work. Not really. I was excited by it, in a term of a band that I've loved for all of my life, and a new artist I was excited by collaborating, I was excited on that front. But in terms of would this marry up? Would this work together?
Mm.
Or would it sound like a bad mashup? Um, for me, it sounded great, and it sounded fresh, and it had that kind of that people were saying it does. Oh, it doesn't sound like the '70s Aerosmith. Well, no, but to me, it had a similar raw attitude about it. You're not going to get them to redo Toys in the Attic or Draw the Line or whatever. It's just not going to
Mm.
happen. But to have something with that kind of middle finger about it again, and that kind of point to prove, and we're here, and we're going to do it, and this is, you could tell it was them having fun. They weren't trying to get a number one hit with this, or write for a particular movie or what have you. It felt honest. It felt like just having fun again and learning to enjoy what they could do, and maybe doing something they didn't think they could do again.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so for me, it had to be up there, number one with the top single of the year.
No, no, no. Obviously, I threw in Jesse Wells twice because 4 albums, so there's only two separate leading singles there out of the four. Um, um, again, he's doing something that nobody else currently is. He is able to topically write about subjects that are going on in the world, and he is also able to write just profound and in such a wonderful way. There's a variety in his writing that I don't see anywhere else currently. I think Red is a great example of a uniting kind of song that touches on this bizarre political thing in America that's going on.
Yeah.
You know, within a couple of weeks of Elon Musk throwing a chainsaw around at an event, he has written about Elon Musk and implied different things, and talking, like in Red in particular, talking about that swing of how it's just changed very quickly. You know, how these people have kind of been indoctrinated into believing that these figureheads are, you know, going to resolve all your problems. I mean, there's a great line where he writes, "There's a big swamp and I'll drain it. Who'd have known that the deep state was the National Park Ranger?"
I'll have to check this guy out. I don't know why I haven't heard him this year.
He is incredible. I mean, there are other songs outside of the singles this year that are astonishing. I mean, there are ones he went out in the middle of Farm Aid and sang a song called "War Isn't Murder," and sang about like Netanyahu.
Oh, okay.
And one line in particular is something like, he's got a line for that and a bomb for you, and like he just drops truth in all of these like places, and he just waves his hands, and at the end of the song he just goes, "Thanks, y'all," and just walks away. You know, he has a song called "The Poor," about if you just work a little harder, then you'll get a lot more. You know, and it's not the banks, it's not these things over here.
Yeah.
It's you that's the problem. You know, obviously we know what he's implying.
Mm.
But he just writes about truth. But Red in particular for me, I mean, I like Pilgrim, I think it's a great song, but I think Red in particular for me is the one that is incredibly clever and was written in a couple of weeks of some of these things he's talking about. So the output
All right, okay.
is so fast, and he's just jumped on it and released it, and included it in part of this incredible year that he's had. But it's his lyrics, like the way he writes a song is incredible. If you listen to Red, it's so clever, it's disgraceful. Um, and it's about that thing of there is a greater problem, and you'll soon unite whoever you are. You can be a Baptist, you can be a Catholic, you can be anything, and you'll eventually see these people for who they are, and you'll unite against them. And I think that it's such a powerful message, particularly in a country that is so divided. And there's obviously a thing for it because he's risen so quickly.
Hmm.
And he's doing such amazing things. And I feel that he has to be in these conversations because he's writing about things that really matter. And I know some people say keep politics out of it, and he doesn't always write about politics. He writes about lots of different things. But I don't think we've had somebody like him since Bob Dylan. I really don't. And the level of writing and is at such a tier that's above everybody else, I feel, at the minute.
Okay.
I don't know whether he's going to slow down next year, but I think he's on another tier entirely currently. Yeah. For me, my nomination would have to go for Red because it's such a clever song. It's one of those, like, obviously you have to hear it to know, but it's so clever it's disgraceful. It's one of those where it's like, if I was a musician, I'd be sick that he's able to write like that. It's annoying almost. But yeah, somehow we're going to have to reach some kind of conclusion. For me, again, if this was Aerosmith on their own, they'd be probably straight in there. I don't know, you're looking at me like that. But do we throw in a last minute candidate so that we can reach a cohesive conclusion?
No, you know what, man? Like my argument was based on a band coming back that have not done anything for a while, right? And yes, I love it, but it's been controversial. It has divided camp. You're talking about a man who's starting his career, and you're so passionate about the turnaround that he's giving, especially with this track Red, in that kind of period of time. I think we give it to him.
It's bold as fuck. I've not seen a man walk out to a crowd of people who he doesn't know, who's clearly not on his side, and he will sing about loads of stuff that undoubtedly would be very controversial, and he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's some of the most genuine artistry I've ever seen. But I think for me, Red is particularly clever, so I had to kind of include it in there. Are we going for that one then?
Go on.
Okay. So the best single of 2025 is Jesse Wells with Red. If you haven't heard him, do go and check him out. It's insane. Certainly making his name for himself in America. Moving on to the category that everybody's been waiting for, of course. It is best album. Obviously, this is the big one, the one that really counts, I think. The one that everybody's leaning forward and going, who's he going to pick? And that's the artist. Do you think they care? But we like to have fun.
We do.
So our nominees are Jesse Wells with Middle, Anthony Gomes with Praise the Loud, that guy Young Blood with Idols, California Irish with The
Oh, yeah.
Mountains Are My Friends. And Saving Grace, simply self-titled. Now, again, incredibly varied list. We have everything here from kind of blues, hard rock to country and folk. What are we feeling? I know we usually like to look at each individual, but are we looking at any candidates off the gate here that we can kind of narrow this down to?
I mean, Saving Grace self-titled for me has to be up there.
Mm,
For those who are listening who maybe aren't aware, and I shouldn't think there are many, but the Saving Grace, of course, features Robert Plant.
it does.
Um, and I was fortunate enough I had never seen Robert Plant before. There was a part of me that would think I would never get to see Robert Plant. 2 years ago, I saw Saving Grace for the first time with himself and Susie Deanne. He's obviously on the record as well, sharing vocals. Stunning live, playing that kind of more rootsy folk, more traditional kind of songs that Planty has come to frequent and write the stylings of in his more recent years. I was a big fan of the albums that he did with Alison Krauss. I think his voice and Susie Deanne's voice works better than the albums he did with Alison Krauss. And I love those two records. And so when they announced that they were going to do this album, which is predominantly covers, in terms of it being of the more folksy, rootsy kind of stuff, I was pretty excited to hear it. And it was just one of those albums. Probably shouldn't have put it on for the first time while I was driving because I wasn't really paying much attention.
Mm.
It was one of those ones where you put an album on in the car and then you get to where you go and then you land at where you're in. You go, I don't remember making any turnings or driving on any bits of road. It just kind of transformed you. And it's just one of those albums I think you could put on anywhere and it'd be welcome. There's just something about it. The musicianship within Saving Grace is stunning. I felt that live, and I feel it on this record. And I'd be really excited for them to do another album of tunes they write themselves because I know individually they've written some amazing songs, just not just Planty, but stuff I've checked off of Susie Deanne, solo stuff. Ollie, the drummer, of course, was in Blue Nation as their main drummer.
Yes, they stole him from Blue Nation,
and you know. And everything else that the other guys have been, doing in between. And it's just a beautiful record. It's the only way I can describe it. So I feel like that has to be up there for me. Other ones that I feel, I put Youngblood up there, but we're not going to go down that route again.
I mean, we've put him in the nomination category. I think, again, a lot of people forget this, but to even be in the nominations, it means have done something to quite a degree to get noticed. Like you are in the shortlist for the entire year. So he ain't doing too bad to get into a shortlist.
I mean, it's probably not right because I just ChatGPT'd it, but how many albums were released in 2025?
This is it. There are going to be a lot. I mean, Jesse Wells is going to occupy half of it.
He's got a good chunk of the percentage, isn't he?
Yeah, this is it. He's at least, Lord knows how many of them.
But I do think Saving Grace needs to be up there for sure.
I don't think ChatGPT can even figure it out.
No, it's just looking at me blankly, to be honest, at the minute.
There you go. See, it's beyond its comprehension. We have beaten the machine.
No. I'm not aware of any credible sources that can tell us.
There we go. We can't even put a number on it, and they've made it into the shortlist of this year. Yeah. So I do think that people think, Ryan's going after Youngblood again.
No, I don't think
it's a shortlist of the year, so he's in that shortlist. I could have said I refuse to have anything to do with it. I don't feel that passionately about it.
Well, this is it. I put my nominations forward before we started talking.
Yes.
They've gone just, nope.
I do think he should have been in the conversation. He should be in the debate.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, That's fair play, man.
There we go. See, I am the gift that keeps giving. You can thank me later, young blood. You know, for me, I'm looking at Anthony Gomes. I mean, praise the loud. I mean, again, another very solid release this year. To follow it up from High Voltage Blues. I mean, it's a tough thing because, of course, High Voltage Blues was an anomaly. It was in the charts for like what, half a year. I think it did actually make it a year. So to follow up something that unprecedented, really, in today's world, is a difficult thing, and I think that he's successfully done that. It's pushed him a little bit further on. Jesse Wells, for me, I mean, this one's probably his most mainstream record out of all of them that he's put out this year. This is the one that's got him the most kind of mainstream coverage. But again, I think it's a great release. I feel it has to be in the conversation because he's put 4 albums out. I mean, it's unbelievable. And this one's kind of been the one that's been at the forefront of those. Again, this is part of that music where it's like I discovered him through this record. So I wanted to put it in that conversation. Who are we leaning towards? Are we looking at a Robert Plant this year? Are we looking at California Irish? I mean, they very quietly put this one out. Of course, Cormac Neeson of The Answer.
Yeah. And again, this one was one that kind of got a slow release on it almost, really. You know, they were putting out the singles and, you know, was really enjoying those. And again, like I had spoken to Cormac, you know, for his solo release, like White Feather, and obviously with The Answer and stuff like that. And then I got an email saying, "Oh, he's putting this other project together. Would you like to talk to him about this?" And I was like, "I'm a huge Answer fan. I'm a huge fan of Cormac. I'll absolutely love to." I just committed to it before actually hearing anything, and because it's Cormac.
Thank God it was decent.
Oh, exactly. It'd have been embarrassing.
Yeah.
But you know, Cormac's never going to release anything bad. But it is a similar ilk in terms of having that more folky kind of vibe about it. With like along the lines of Saving Grace does as well. And I think it was nice to hear a completely other side to Cormac's voice, although there's always been that obviously that Celtic folk side of The Answer in certain tracks, to have that really showcased on this album, and the vocals of the rest of the guys on the album as well is really cool. It just showcasing that other side. The songs, and similarly, again, it felt like a proper vinyl album for me before I owned it online. You know, that kind
For
of
me,
album.
it's like a throwback record. And it's almost like you know, I've said in the past, like a Sunday album. You know, that you want to relax to, you want to chill to, and it does that, but it also makes you feel good. Just gives you like a good vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we need more of that.
Yes,
You know,
I do think it's the right kind of time to bring something out like that.
I think so.
But of course, we have to somehow pick a definitive choice. I mean, I feel it's very tight this year. Like there's not a clear standout miles away candidate.
No, I think everyone's got its merit.
Yes. Tough. I mean, of course, Robert Plant, very experienced person, knows what he's doing. Is it an album of the year, though?
I think if it depends if you're going to credit it as Robert Plant or you're going to credit it as Saving Grace band.
Yeah, I mean, he fronts Saving Grace.
He definitely fronts them, yeah, absolutely. And there are tracks on the album where he actually plays bass and doesn't sing.
Very interesting.
And
it's a bold move, at this point in his career.
Yeah. They did it live as well when we went to go watch him. There was a moment where he just stepped back and picked up a bass guitar and was playing
Imagine that you're the person that's got to step forward and be the vocalist. Imagine, like, the pressure. You've got Robert Plant in the corner. You know, I wouldn't fancy it.
No, I won't want to get
I
up
think
either.
I'll just get my coat.
Just leave.
Just go home. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know about you, Robert, but I'm off. You
Yeah,
know.
if you're not singing, I'm not. See you later.
Yeah. Fuck that. um. Yeah. I mean, obviously, very experienced there.
I guess it depends what you're looking for, isn't it? I mean, if you're looking
Mm,
for an album from, you know, an elder statesman, say that he's involved in, but is showcasing and highlighting talents of others as well,
mm,
and is more folky, more an album where you could put up in. Saving
mm.
Grace album's the one. If you're looking for the Sunday chill, feel good,
California Irish is
it's
one there for
California
that,
Irish.
isn't
And
it?
if you're looking for something that's just going to make you smile, make you happy, make you
Mm.
laugh in places, then it's Anthony Gomez, isn't it?
It's tough.
Really tough.
See, for me, I'm looking at the progress that Anthony Gomes has made
Mhm.
in his career, and I see to follow up High Voltage Blues with another successful release. He could have quite easily have crashed and burned.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously that's a lot of pressure to follow that up.
Mm.
Um, to have successfully done that is very impressive. And he was able to, like, he had very strong singles himself, really. I mean, obviously the title track "Praise the
Yeah.
Loud" is bit of an anthem, really, for
Yeah.
him. Um, yeah, it's God Almighty, it's difficult this year. By now, I'd usually go, I feel who's in
Yeah.
my head that I would go for, but I don't think there's a standout candidate.
No, everyone's got their merit and like
Yeah, everybody's got something where I go, yeah, that's the thing. Is there any you lean into?
keep going back to Saving Grace.
Mm,
But then I've had the live experience. It's a bit like the Jesse Wells thing we were talking about earlier.
yeah, yeah.
And obviously, what listening to that album evokes the live vibe.
Mm,
I keep going between Anthony and Saving Grace. I just think Anthony's a great guy.
yeah.
He, like you say, that he could have crashed and burned based on how well the previous release was.
Because I mean, obviously, we know that he's released numerous releases over the
Mm.
years, but I feel almost High Voltage Blues was almost like a second debut
Yeah,
because it was like the birth of a new era for him. So this is almost like his second album, and of course, we've literally had that conversation before about a sophomore album and about that difficulty of following up a successful record. And I think that he had maybe a larger problem than what people would realize. Following something up that's incredibly successful, there would be pressure from the label if this doesn't do, so many. It's kind of curtains. There's a lot of pressure from numerous different places, even his own fan base. It's like, oh, you've done something really great now. We either want more of that or better.
yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure.
Whereas I do feel Robert Plant is at a point in his career where he can basically do what the hell he wants.
Oh,
Like he hasn't got any real pressure now. So I don't know whether the backdrop of that pressure should be a factor. It does make you wonder. But for me, I mean, when I spoke with him about that kind of writing process, and he had some songs in his catalog that he didn't really realize were going to be some of his leading singles.
Hmm.
Like the label were getting excited about it, and it's like that's very interesting that they're like, "Oh yes, you've got something here," you know.
yeah.
So that's particularly interesting. But is California Irish going under the radar?
Yeah, I think they are a little. It was the kind of going under the radar release though as well. Like you say, it
Mm,
was, a few singles got released and then the album came out and they've done some cool shows and stuff since, but they've not done a lot outside of Ireland
mm,
with it. Cormac was saying, he was looking for live opportunities to do
Wow.
that. And that's something they were looking to do. Um, it's definitely a beauty. I think if I'm looking for the most beautiful record of the year, it's that.
Interesting.
If I'm looking for one of the most the record I got lost in most this year, it's Saving Grace.
Mm.
But are they highlights of their own respective careers?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
Who knows? The problem is they're different entities. It's not an Answer album, it's not a Zeppelin album, or even a Robert Plant solo album.
No.
Yeah, it's a different entity. Um, why do we do this to ourselves every year, mate?
I know every year. But I think this year is maybe the closest year we've done
Yeah,
for best album.
I think so.
Um, I think as much as I like Middle, I think from Jesse Wells, I think that his singles are the strongest thing about him so far.
Hmm.
And his general output since Middle has been insane. As I say, one of the best songwriters I've ever seen. But is he going to come back next year with a better record? If he continues on the trajectory he's on, probably yes.
This is it. I think with Saving Grace, the album is predominantly covers
Mm.
because of what they've been doing with Planty solo, Planty and touring together. They've been focused on that more traditional rootsy stuff.
Mm.
If it was, and I think we are going to have to split hairs on it because it's too close.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if it was an album of original material that they were writing, I think we might be having another conversation.
Yeah.
But based on original material, I think we're gonna have to give it to Anthony again.
It feels that way. It feels like just ever so slightly edging it, mainly because you're able to follow up a record that has been around in the charts for it was either a year or over a year, which many artists can't do really.
No.
That's usually the pinnacle, and they've had their moment in the sun, and then they tend to go down a bit afterwards. Whereas Anthony was able to kind of evolve that slightly. I mean, he didn't reinvent the wheel, but he was able to incorporate, like he spoke about, that he wanted bigger choruses this time. He wanted it to feel bigger. So he kind of took inspiration from AC/DC.
Yeah, I think he did that, to be fair.
And it feels bigger.
Mm.
It does feel like a bigger record. It feels kind of more
Anthony.
yeah, and he's got that thing, and it's interesting. He's able to talk about these influences, but it doesn't, like, I put the track on and I hear Anthony Gomes. I don't hear AC/DC.
Yeah.
And it's great how he's able to ride those influences, but not have it take over. Whereas, of course, that can happen.
Yeah.
Have we reached our conclusion?
I think we have, my man.
I mean, that was a tough one, man. So, by an absolute thinnest of thin margins, in probably one of the hardest years that we've had to decide, the best album of 2025 is Anthony Gomes with Praise the Loud. And of course, that's the first time Anthony has won the best album category. So it is a first for him. So another thing that he's broken and he's the first ever candidate that we've had in a previous year do best breakthrough that has then gone on to win best album. Nobody else has ever done it.
Yeah.
So in our 5th anniversary year, we're still doing new things. But yes, that wraps it up. Of course, if you have any suggestions of your own for these respective categories, do drop your comments in the description below. Because, you know, you may have some bands or artists that we aren't familiar with. You know, particularly in that kind of ones to watch category, there's probably some artists out there that are hooking away right now that we don't know even exist. So do drop your recommendations, and we'll be back in the new year with new guests and hopefully new music, and we will see you then.